Have you ever seen one of those get-rich-quick ads online that promise you can make thousands of dollars in just hours? Well, you may want to reconsider your next click online because you may be on the path to getting in touch with a binary options company. These fraudulent firms depend on their clients losing to make money, and many of them are based in Israel. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz sat down with Times of Israel editor David Horovitz to find out why law enforcement isn't doing enough to stop the rigged businesses.
Look, we were not the first people to write about it, but Times of Israel is the only Israeli media outlet that is making it a priority because it's the biggest corruption scandal in the history of Israel. And it's the fact that Israeli law enforcement has not closed down a massive industrial scale theft can only be because either they lack the resources or they don't get it, or there is so much corruption here that the law enforcement is being persuaded not to investigate.
Well,
none of those
explanations
are adequate. The bottom line is, there are very complicated financial instruments that are used all over the world in all kinds of criteria, in all kinds of climates, and we know, how much trouble that caused in the United States with subprime and mortgage loans and all the impact that this had on the American banking system and the global financial system. In that world of complexity and complex terms and so on, now in Israel, the words binary options, which implies taking the right to purchase a commodity at some future stage, or making an assessment about whether the value of a commodity is going to go up or down, and therefore making some kind of lucrative short-term investment, in fact, in Israel, has become the headline word for stealing money from people who think they're investing but are in fact being fleeced. You have thousands of Israelis working in a largely fraudulent industry. There are trading platforms that purport to enable people to make wise short-term investments, or to have people from these companies making wise short-term investments on their behalf. But as far as we can tell, this industry is overwhelmingly rigged. So it's really, you think you're making a short-term investment. In fact, you're really doing the equivalent of gambling in a rigged casino. Not merely gambling, but gambling in a casino where the people who are running the show control the roulette wheel and can ensure that when they want you to put in more money, you will quote-unquote win, and then when they've finished taking all your money, you will lose, and they will just steal your money. So they're calling. There are thousands of people coming into work every day. And
Thousands of Israelis.
Who
are the victims?
Coming into work every day and calling people all over the world. Since March, it has been banned in Israel. So the Israeli Securities Authority have prevented these hundreds of firms and their thousands of employees from fleecing Israelis, but they claim not to have the authority to prevent the fleecing of people abroad, all over the Arab world, Eastern Europe, parts of North America. It's illegal in America, and therefore no Israel-based firms should be calling America. Some of them are, a minority of them are. Most of them don't touch America. Canada, like I say, Eastern Europe, Britain, France, and so on. I mean, that's really all you need to know. Have you ever heard of an investment where in 96% of the cases, the investor loses all of his or her money? Like I say, it's a sophisticated process of theft. We've spoken to several Knesset members. We've had several Knesset members apparently expressing an interest. We haven't given up on that field. But has there been an initiative from the Knesset to stamp out something that, by the way, is dreadful for Israel's financial reputation? The resonance of this is growing. There's a class action suit being prepared in London at the moment. French investigators have been here. There have been raids in Romania. There are blacklists issued by countries like Canada and America, with plentiful Israeli firms cited there. I mean, this is a disaster.
A disaster Hasbara-wise. I mean, this sounds like the flip side of calling Israel startup nation.
It's the dark side of the startup nation. Unfortunately, it's outrageous that it's been allowed to snowball for the best part of a decade. It's just outrageous. I mean, Israel prides itself on having created a credible, legitimate environment for investment, right, which is crucial to the economy and to startup especially. It's mind-boggling to me. I can think of no good reason why this has not long since been tackled.
So finally, just on this issue, if one of our viewers in the United States or elsewhere receives a call from one of these binary option sellers, the thing to do is hang up the phone?
Listen, I'll quote the Canadian regulators, who's, you don't have anything to do with these people. Anyone who's pitching you these kinds of things, I cannot think of many less smart ways to use your money.
David Horovitz, thank you so much for being with us at ILTV.
Sure.